So it's really those two things that lowered the Tesla-specific robotaxi valuation.
China has provided over $200 billion in support to its domestic EV sector over the past 15 years.
This is clearly a cyber attack. This was manifested by some organization that wants to shut down our transportation system.
All that and more. So let's get to it. Tesla stock is down in the pre-market almost 0.5%, sitting at $180.89 per share. Year to date, Tesla stock is down almost 28%. And if you go back an entire calendar year, the stock is down almost 35%. It's been a rocky ride, that's for sure.
After 8 days of wins for the tech sector, one tech name that is under pressure this morning is Tesla. That stock is moving to the downside here after down a little over 1.25% after our next guest lowered his price target on the name based on some new calculations for the company's ROBO-taxi program. Joining us now to discuss, we have Tom Narayan. He's RBC Capital Markets lead equity analyst here. Talk to me about the single biggest driver of this price target change for you when it comes to Tesla.
Really two things. The first thing is we looked at what pricing would be in a world of robo-taxis, and we realized with working with our internet team who covers the ride-hailing companies, Uber and Lyft, etc., that pricing will actually be lower. It'll come down as this will be a regulated industry. So we lowered our pricing. The second thing is we increased the value that we think will go to those companies, the app companies, the Ubers, the Lyfts, as a higher revenue share percentage than what I was assuming previously. So it's really those two things that lowered the Tesla-specific robotaxi valuation. But we still love robotaxis, and we still think it's going to be the biggest contributor for value for Tesla.
By when, Tom?
Well, my valuation, I think you guys remember, is based off 2040, and then I discounted back. But I do think on August 8th, we will get an announcement that we will start seeing some actually near-term deployments of robotaxis, but it'll be in cities like we've seen probably like from GM Cruise and Waymo and cities like San Francisco, Austin, Phoenix. It's a very small scale. You're not going to get this at mass scale for years, if not decades out.
And on that exact point, Tom, when do you anticipate the Tesla robo-taxi revenue kind of being a contributing factor to Tesla's overall profit margins?
Oof, not for a while. It could be 5-10 years away, but it's one of these things where when it happens, it will happen in a big way, right? The automotive or transportation industry is a $6 trillion industry today. Autonomy, robotaxis, autonomous vehicles has the chance to make this much bigger, 10 billion potentially, right? Takes share from planes and trains and gives mobility to the elderly, children, people with disabilities. And so it's one of these things that will be a tectonic shift in how we all live. It's just, it's going to take a long while before it contributes financially to any of these companies.
Nobody wants to pin down a date when this will actually happen. There are two factors working at play here. One is our brain can hardly wrap our heads around the pace of advancement of technology. It's easier to say that something is impossible and more than likely won't happen. Computers and the internet have baffled the industry for decades. But one thing that Tom does get is that it's not if, but only when. It is clear that Tesla is on the path to solving for general autonomy. Drop a Tesla anywhere, it'll be able to go from point A to point B safely, rinse, repeat, and do it all without a driver. Obviously has potential to dominate ride-hail, but there are other applications for this software. Immediately, Optimus comes to mind. But again, it's such a long ways away. I mean, it's hard to even fathom until it isn't.
In your note, you talk about lowering the estimates for the company's robo-taxi venture, but you're also allocating a bigger revenue share to service providers like Uber and Lyft. Why?
Yeah, so there's like three parts of the ecosystem here with robo-taxis, right? You have the software, you have the vehicle, and then you have the app. I think there's going to be a lot of software providers. I think Tesla will be a big player in this, but there are a lot of folks making software for autonomy.
Just like there are other companies with search engines, but people still use Google. I'd wager your autonomous driving software is a little more important than a search engine given the self-preservation that is involved.
the vehicle, lots of car companies are going to make the vehicle.
On top of licensing Tesla's software, they're going to also have to get their hardware. The AI computer stack, the camera suites, they're going to need all of this information in order to use Tesla's FSD software.
But the app, that's one where our analyst, Brad Erickson on the internet team, talks about how that's very sticky. It's a moat. Just look at how you use your apps today, right? Like, how many apps are you going to have on your phone to order a car, right? I have one. And so, that's really, I think, where a lot of the power lies. And that's something that I've raised. And they collect right now for every Uber fare I think you take, I think 25% of it goes to the app, goes to Uber, right? Not the driver. So that's a big lion's share for that stickiness. So that's why we changed our view on that. And we think actually that the app is going to have a lot of power. Tesla's going to make their own app, sure, for sure. But we do think some of these other app makers who already own customers are going to have a lot of power as well.
The Tesla app is quite universal. I mean, if you have a car, if you have solar panels, this one-stop shop functions for you in several different ways. You got your service on the app, monitoring your vehicle and your energy usage on the app, of which I have no doubt that they will also add a ride-hailing section. Swipe left 3 times and next thing you know, you have your ride-hailing portion of the app. And I agree with Tom, you're not gonna need more than one ride-hailing app on your phone. It'll be the one with the smoothest usability and the cheapest price, both of which I have no doubt will be from Tesla.
Tell us more about this story. What do we know?
Yeah, it's hard to say how much those tariffs will eventually be. Canada is said to be just starting public consultations on these tariffs now, and there's strong pressure on Prime Minister Trudeau to really match those tariffs that has been introduced by the Biden administration of upwards of 100%. The EU, of course, has also imposed tariffs of up to 48%. There is new research that has came out from an American think tank saying that China has provided over $200 billion in support to its domestic EV sector over the past 15 years.
Yeah! Damn, that's a lot of bread. Talk about moving all in on the EV industry.
But to be fair, though, those support per vehicle has come down drastically over the years to just under $5,000 per vehicle last year. That's still below what the U.S. offers, $7,500 in rebates for U.S. consumers on eligible vehicles under the Inflation Reduction Act.
A lot of factors in play. I mean, you get the ball rolling and then wean them off kind of like training wheels. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still a business. These companies need to make money. But as the world is shifting to battery electric vehicles, the Chinese government saw an incredible opportunity to potentially become the face of the electric vehicle movement.
In Canada, the domestic auto sector is calling for steep tariffs. They say that Canada cannot sit on the sidelines here because you have that review of the FTA coming up, the FTA between Canada, Mexico, and the US. We know Canada's auto industry is very tightly integrated with the US sector as well. They sell finished products and parts to the US. By far, most of their exports are going to the US. So Prime Minister Trudeau will really have to balance between the US and China now. And of course, there will be fears of retaliation from China as well.
Again, tariffs good for US legacy auto manufacturers, bad for the EV adoption curve worldwide.
People who are trying to buy a car right now are really struggling. A cyber attack shut down dealerships across the country. Hackers have targeted CDK Global. It's a software provider that 15,000 car dealerships rely on to run their business. The company says the cyber attack likely is to last a couple days. As a result, auto dealership stocks, including Carvana, CarMax, and AutoNation, they got hit hard today. Even shares of investment firm Brookfield Business Partners got clobbered. CDK Global is one of its biggest holdings.
Whew. The Tesla website's still up, though. That's a plus. My heart goes out to the dinosaurs as the asteroid continues to hurtle towards them.
Give me a sense of how it's disrupting business.
Oh, it's a disaster. I have to tell you, customers are coming in, consumers are coming in. You know, we're selling cars, but we can't book the deals. We can't finance the deals. We can't get them to the banks, which means we can't fund the cars and we can't pay off the cars.
I'm hearing a lot of can't. Can't this, can't that. I suppose that's what happens when you're at the mercy of someone else.
And it's affecting service. People come in, you can't process the orders for service. You can't move the parts to the service departments. And clearly, you know, listen, you talked about 15,000 dealers that are affected. There's 17,500 new car dealers in the U.S. That is 95% of the car dealers across the country. This is clearly a cyber attack. This was manifested by some organization that wants to shut down our transportation system. And that's what the Biden administration needs to understand. When they start talking about electric cars and selling our soul to China and having them come in and control our transportation system.
Sell our soul to China? We have 100% tariff on Chinese EVs. This cyber attack is awful. Just like any cyber attack is awful. But what you can't do is become a victim. You have to be actively fighting cyber terrorists and not get complacent. The truth of the matter is there's way too many of these auto dealerships being impacted from this one cyber attack. Maybe get all our eggs out of this one CDK basket and improve the cybersecurity overall.
Tell me about the cyber attack and the way it's disrupting the business.
So look, like Tom said, it's disrupting an entire dealership, right? You have to understand that a DMS, right? This is the heart and brains of a dealership. This is the tool that CDK provides to over 50% of the U.S. auto dealerships.
That's one hell of a concentration.
What's going to be the biggest question for auto retail is going to be, will the industry continue centralizing and consolidating technology? This has been the biggest trend in auto retail. Consumers want better experience, a more seamless car buying process. And so the industry has flocked towards, let's put all of our tools under one roof.
Okay, but are there other options?
Well, there are other options. It's the way we've been operating. But this is now the question that it's this fog of war. Everyone's asking themselves, do we want to continue going in this direction?
Because I'm looking here. New York State has actually sent out a dealer alert. And says it doesn't appear that CDK knows for certain how long their systems will continue to be down, which means dealerships don't know when they'll really be back up and running.
Right. It's extremely disruptive, as Tom mentioned again, and different departments are being impacted differently, right? Service is a department that's being impacted very heavily, right? Because unlike sales, where you can maybe spot a car, right, put it on the road and maybe contract it a couple of days later, service is a much different beast, and it's a lot more difficult to fix. Right now, dealers are extremely resilient. It's an entrepreneurial business, right? Dealers know how to find solutions, know how to get up and continue pushing forward.
In conclusion, the robotaxi endeavor will be difficult, but that juice will be well worth the squeeze. Regulators and cities will be overwhelmed by the data. Positive data that is saving lives, and then the overall flexibility that these robo-taxis will ultimately provide. Canada will most likely follow the United States' lead in imposing tariffs against the Chinese. But like I've said before, you won't be able to keep these Chinese vehicles from our shores for very much longer. And some heinous cyber attacks have hit car dealerships all around the country, preventing sales, preventing service, and as individuals talked about the dealership's helplessness in this matter, I couldn't help but think about the Tesla solution in all of this. Anecdotally, my car buying experience has been much better on the Tesla website. My service experience has been better on the Tesla app. Hopefully these car dealerships will take all of their eggs out of the CDK basket, possibly take cybersecurity into their own hands. I'm just playing. They'd rather be at the mercy of someone else. Can't do this, can't do that. Typical victim shit. Just another nefarious plot to put this archaic model out to pasture. That's all I've got for you today. Be easy. Peace.